What's going on? Welcome back to Daily Boosted. Today, obviously, we're going to cover all the mods and changes done to this Technic Lamborghini Sian. Originally, I wasn't a big fan of the design of the car, but now, when everything is fixed and the color is finally right, that thing looks very, very awesome. Very happy to have that on the shelf. And it's original. It's one of one. There's not a single car know of which has actually been painted like this. It was a big effort. It's taken about, I don't know, over 50 hours after the build. So it was a couple of evenings of me sitting down fixing all the little things I didn't like your roof, your dash, a couple of other things around which we're going to go through. And obviously painting. Oh my god, painting Lego is ridiculous. All right, all these little holes, the panels, creases. It's just the material as it is. It's a lot harder to paint, and since everybody's probably here for the color, let's quickly cover up how to do it. So first advice would be wash all your parts you're going to paint. It could have dust or finger oil from when you're putting it together, so just soapy water, chuck it in a bucket, let it sit there for a little bit, and then wash it off, dry it, and it's ready to go. This way the paint not gonna behave funny when it doesn't want to stay on certain areas of the plastic, and I reckon overall it's going to have a nicer look. So the first step you want to do to paint, you want to use primer. I used a fair bit of primer. Let's have a look. See, I used most of that. That's a 200 milliliter bottle of Vallejo primer. This is my favorite primer. Super easy to use, and I think it's a lot more forgiving. It doesn't pull as much. And it's just really good for airbrushing, right? Because I ran out of that, and I didn't want to wait a few weeks to get more from the mail. I used stuff from the shop, which is Master Paints. That's a black primer. This is not as good. Like, if as an option, it is something I'm gonna see. It's gonna do its job. However, nowhere near as good. Not a fan. But that's how much primer I used. That's fair bit. This is about $5 per bottle, and that's about, I don't know, over $20 a bottle. So, and that's Australian dollars, by the way. Like, all the money I'm talking about, it's not American dollars, Australian. So that's the primer, right? The main color was bronze. So this is not olive, it's not green, it's none of this. It's actually old bronze. So I don't know if you guys can read this, because it's all crappy stickers, because they more care about the paint. So Master Paints, they're awesome for the colored paint. So for example, if you have metallic red, metallic blue, purple, Master Series paints are awesome for that. But then if you're going to paint gold, silver, obviously Vallejo is way better. But I got really lucky. This is the exact color of what the original car is. So I didn't have to, spend ages mixing the paints, trying to work out the right color. All I had to do is just grab one of those and go to town. So you have to do 2 lots of primer. You gotta be really careful. Leg is less forgiving than resin because it's a lot of flat surfaces. Once you put a coat of primer, don't put too much because it will pull, it will make little drops. You gotta keep your Lego pieces obviously flat. How do you do that? You gotta use your imagination, right? You gotta find the holes which are gonna be used by other pins. You gotta find wires, you gotta find blue tack, and you gotta, stick things on. So here you can see a couple of Lego connectors which are used. You put your part on, you spray it, right? And then you have to dry it. When you dry, you gotta dry all the flat surfaces facing up, because if they obviously not up, all the stuff you just painted gonna go down and pull on the bottom, right? So stuff like roof, bonnet, and every single part essentially have to be perfectly flat. Otherwise, it's gonna pull and wreck your look, right? And that's why you obviously do more than one layer and you paint a lot thinner. If you haven't painted with the airbrush before, maybe, I don't know, buy like a little figurine or a couple of things to paint, get used to it. See how much paint's coming out. Don't just go and paint your Lego crazy, because you're probably gonna wreck it. However, you can use your Mr. Green, and try and rub stuff off with your toothbrush, get rid of the stuff you wrecked, or sandpaper, but then you have to be really careful. Use like 1200 wet sandpaper to get rid of stuff. All right, awesome. So this is obviously used for smaller parts, right? But sometimes you get bigger parts like seats. The seats were really painful to paint. They are all connected together, and I used these things to connect the seats, and then blue tack on the table. So your seat is not ideal to paint because it's got two surfaces, right? If you have one surface flat, obviously you got to get pulling on one side. If you go other way around, you get the same thing. So I had a little bit of pulling on the seat here because I essentially put the seat like this, right? But it was easy to fix. I used a little bit of sandpaper, and then, you know, just put another coat of varnish on it. So it worked out okay. It's not silky smooth like the rest of the car. There are little spots where there's a little bit of pulling, but sometimes you just can't get away with it. It was a lot of Lego to paint, and you know, little bits then there is forgivable, but you obviously can repaint them if you want to. I got most of the car done without any issues, but besides the seat, I think the seat was the only bit which is really difficult because the surfaces are not perfectly flat, and then I didn't have much paint to go with, so you know, I only had one of those things, which is explosive orange master paints, and I used the whole entire thing on the seats and a little bit of dash. So we'll have a look inside in a sec. So that's the paint I used for inside. Rims, obviously the rims are awesome color as well. That's copper. So to get copper like this, I used Games Workshop copper, and as you can see, the color of the actual paint looks a little bit lighter. That's because once you put paints on when your metallics go on the black primer, the metallic color pops a lot more. So don't use gray or white primers to paint your metallics. Metallics are always done on black, otherwise it's not going to look metallic, or nowhere near as good as it can be. So just remember that. If you're going to remember something about painting, use black primer for metallics. All right. At the back, we'll have a look at in a second. There's an engine cover that's done in ruby red, Master Series. Like I said before, Master Series are awesome for the colored silver, like metallics. But if you want to do gold, silver, they're not as great. But your purple is also pretty awesome. Maybe you'll paint something purple. Obviously not the actual Lego cars. It's crazy amount of money to paint, but you know, who knows? We'll find something to paint for sure. Next, once you paint everything, obviously you have to protect it. I used gloss varnish. That's Voyager. I used about 2 bottles of that, almost 2 bottles. There's just a little bit left. And 2 coats. Gotta be really thin, really careful. The stuff will pull and make drops, so you gotta be super careful with that. So that's the painting bit done. This is another thing super useful. You have your beam and you put little parts in it, and then you put it halfway, paint it, you know, and then you can use that. So you don't have like million of all those things. You just can use one of those, right? Super handy. All right, so obviously make sure you plan. So the best way to do it, whatever you're painting, get all of it together. Paint it in smaller lots so you don't, you know, get tired and wreck it, and then you can see progress. This whole entire thing was painted in 6 lots, so I painted most of the stuff separately. I painted the front section, the doors and the roof, and 2 lots of back, cover, spoiler, blah blah blah, and then other smaller bits. So actually, so that was all the parts for that. And then after that, I also painted wheels separately in one sitting, and then I used red and orange all together as well in another sitting. All right, so finally we can get to all the mods. See how excited it is? Dropping my Batman. So the first mod, I'm gonna go as quick as possible. I'm not gonna go into too much details, just to cover what's been done. If you guys really keen to know how I did it, you know, just leave us a comment and I'll try to explain. Maybe do another video if there's heaps of people interested. However, the bonnet been extended by 2 studs, so it's all been separated, right? This makes the car looks wider and actually completes it better because there was 2 black holes essentially in the car. Some people didn't care, some people didn't like it. Didn't bother me, but I thought it was a good idea to try it, and it looks great. I reckon it looks way cooler. It's have that 3x1 piece there, just to cover the hole. That's done. That's obviously painted from inside and outside. Where's the light? Here it is. On inside you have blades with the 5x1 Technic pieces, so that's further to close the holes, and they kind of sit underneath the rubber beams, right? I did them originally before I widened the actual bonnet, but even with that, they look very nice. You know, you can adjust them, play with, you know, make them look very nice. I got the 2 black rubber bits underneath it, right there. That's just to complete the look. The lights, I do have lights coming. The lights are gonna go in here and obviously in here. So that's gonna be another video for the lights. Should look very, very awesome. I did have to pillage parts from here, so I replaced them with the blade looking things. I didn't have the right color, so those ones are painted black. That's just the primer. They're hidden underneath the bonnet. You can really only see them if you look at the front just a little bit, so I don't want to leave the hole. So that's been complete. This piece here been replaced, so now I have 2 cylinders by 1 on both sides, so that's looks kind of cool. This one is obviously your bronze, and that's black. So that's been finished. The biggest change, there was few of them actually, but that's one of them here. Hated how there was 2 Lego pieces just sticking out. Obviously that's been changed. There's a little half piece of Technic connecting all of this construction on the front, and then obviously that's been changed. So this is now have one, you know, smooth line through, so that looks a lot better in my perspective. I mean, if you like the thing sticking out and wrecking everything, it's up to you. Go for it. Go for gold, but that's also changed. No longer we have a flat dash. You know, you can't put your coffee mug on top of your model anymore because both of the flat surfaces has been changed. So obviously it's got the blade looking things. This is original piece which were further at the front, so that's been pushed back on the angle, and then obviously bigger blades creating that curvature. So it's kind of got a lot of little things, more detail. It's not just, you know, one flat table in the middle of the car, right? Steering covers, I added the pieces from here. That's where I got them from. What that did is kind of created a more smoother transition. It doesn't just have cut off Lego, you know. I reckon on the Bugatti, the steering panel is probably the best looking panel because they use proper Lego and it's all nice and smooth and looks really cool. But this is the closest I could get because I am limited on what I have to play with, and that's the best I could do. Quickly going back to the bonnet before I forget, I had to replace the part on the front because otherwise I would have holes. I would have 2 holes here, so that's just the Technic beams connected together, right, to get rid of the holes. Otherwise it's not going to look as nice. You'll just have Lego holes, all right, if you separate them. I think that's why they didn't bother separating them from the start, because they'll have holes they didn't bother covering. So that's obviously had to change bonnet. All right, moving slowly back. For our mirrors, we got a little cylinder and a grill looking piece. It just makes, you know, the mirrors look a lot nicer than what they are. They kind of looked unfinished. Keep moving further back. Obviously I covered the pieces I put in to cover the gray beam. That's done. Right, the roof, oh my god, how much better does the roof look in my opinion, right? If you hate it, you hate it, but for me that's like perfect. Obviously you have all the other cars with the, you know, curved roof. Why not? And then you can obviously, you know, trickle this to make it look more curvy with your beam here. All right, quick changes on the inside. I have this panel over there with 2x2 curved pieces. It's just hiding the main shaft. I didn't want to paint that, and it's kind of like a dark silverish color looking thing, so that was bang on. Had some pieces lying around, so I used it. So that's Dunsky. seats painted orange, right? I used liquid masking Voyager for all the badges. So that was another pain in the ass because there's no stickers. You have to mask that and then paint, right? The panel, I don't know if you can see it, but the panel for the cluster been moved. So that actually sits further closer to us. There's a Technic piece in there to bring it back out so you can actually see it. On the inside, there's orange on the sides, and then there's an orange for your glove box. So the glove box also got painted, right? Once we start painting, we just painted everything, jokes. So you can see the glove box painted. So the interior looks very cool now. So it's got that original orange in it. Next, let's just have a quick look. I don't think we missed anything. So that's all the changes so far. All right, up to here, the changed is it's got hinges now. It's not just take off. It kept the stick, right? This is iconic old school stick. Excuse me. Iconic stick. It's got obviously that ruby red I was talking about, right? That's done. There was a couple of Lego pieces been changed to gray or black colors instead of whatever, because there was a lot of stuff to paint. Another thing what was changed is that piece here. So now it's have some sort of a grill instead of boring Lego piece. It looks way cooler. Another change on outside is obviously this been changed as well. Before it was like a two little bigger hand looking pieces holding this beam. Didn't like that, wasn't a fan, so I kind of like lifted that up and then replaced that to fix that. Right, let's move on. Let's go this side. So over here, there's two gray pieces here. I am having the cylinders like this coming in the mail. So once these cylinders come here, I'll replace that. So don't worry about that. They'll be changed. I don't know why they even bother not making black connectors or some sort of different color connectors just to cover that up. So they'll be changed. The actual fins at the back, they've been lowered by one. And they actually look a lot nicer. Original one definitely have a smaller fins than what Lego did. Lego had massive fins, so obviously that's all looks more aesthetically pleasing to me now, so happy with that. The back bit wasn't complete. Now we have 3x1 pointy bits on here, and then obviously connector here instead of that little Lego hand thing. So that's all a lot smoother now. That looks nice and complete. And if you look at the actual Lego, it does have, sorry, not the original car, it does have that pointy bit at the back. It's not just like, oh, see you later, chop chop. It's definitely not a thing. Biggest change is at the back, right? When it comes to the exhaust. So absolutely hated the exhaust. I thought it did not look like anything. Taken me about, I don't know, I don't want to lie, 4 or 5 attempts to find something, and we finally did it. Look at that beauty. Actually, you can straighten up. I think it's moved a little bit because I was, playing with it, but that's all can sit there straight. If you look at the actual car, right, for the exhaust, it does have a less space at the top and it's a bit wider at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can obviously tell, but if you actually have a really good look at the car, you probably can notice that. So I went for the same look. Obviously I have this awesome exhaust shape now with the 2 pipes, and I'm super proud of this. This took forever. Yep, considering how many little changes and pieces I had to do to achieve this, it was absolutely ridiculous. Another small change is the car is lowered. Let's have a quick gaze. So if you look underneath it, there is little bits here. It's 3x1 with the sticky thing. I don't know if you guys can see it pretty well, but that's what it is. It's got like a little black beam in there, and what it does, it doesn't let the shock to push it further down, so the car is lowered. Also, you can see it's got writing on the tires. I just wanted to mention that. Your Lego car wouldn't have that, and it does look awesome. And then obviously, if you want to make the car lower, I think it was too low. I kind of didn't like the proportion between holes on the side and the top. Right now it's a lot nicer. Like, look, the Batman does not fit in there, except almost fits here. You know, you can get in there pretty easily, but you know, Batman check, does not fit, right? And then if you want to go lower, you just grab a couple of those, put them on the actual black beam, I suppose, and then what it'll do, it'll push the car even lower, and it'll probably sit somewhere around here. So you can have it super low, but then you won't have much of suspension to play with, whereas now, you know, it's still noticeable that it's got sweet suspension, and obviously at the front it sits pretty well as well. So it is lowered because we are on the bags officially. So here we go. Let us know if you guys want to have more detail, if you want to know how to make anything or any other questions. I'll quite happily answer everything in the comments, and just, you know, to give you perspective, that's what it, you know, looked like before. There's a video, it's going to be obviously attached for original review, and then obviously got our changes. We've got changes here, you know, changes here. Obviously that's wider, roof different, you know, look at that, that's ugly. How ugly is this? Batman is not approved. You know, Batman approves this one though. Look at that. Here you go, comparison. Roof. Look if you can find exhaust. You know, just finish it on a super positive change. Oh man, horrid exhaust. Look at this thing. Look at it. Can you guys see it? That's fins, right? That's fin where the exhaust goes. Here it is. Here it is. This is your exhaust. Obviously, our exhaust kick ass. Awesome exhaust. Look at that. Look at that thing. I'm so proud of that. That looks so much better. Actually, I'll show you. It's actually really easy to take out too. It's literally holds on by a little hose. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a hose in that, right? That's what it sits on. That hose goes onto here, onto that blue connector, and then there's a blue stud which goes onto here, right? So it's only secured by two. But look at that piece of engineering. You know how many attempts it took to make this? It was ridiculous. Wow. Sorry, here you go. Wow. By the way, this is painted. I didn't have, obviously that was blue. I just put a little bit of primer on that to make it black, and that was gray. I had to repaint that. But everything else is not painted. That was tricky. That top piece didn't align, so I had to use little studs with the, you know, a bit which moves everything to the middle. So here it is. And then to attach it, obviously it's a lot harder now with all this other stuff around, but you just put the hose on, right? Put the hose on there, and then there's that blue connector in the middle. You just connect that, and here it is. Boom, you know, easy money. Top secret, by the way. Don't tell anybody how it's done. So if you want to change yours to make it look like actual car, not whatever it was, go for it. By the way, I noticed that I haven't used my spoiler at any single video yet. Some people might think it does not work. However, it does work. I just didn't have a good time to use it. So, booska. Look at that. And then now it actually sits level with the fins, instead of fins having like, you know, 2 meters high like it was before. And Batman is finished. Batman gonna go for a ride in his Lamborghini. See you later. Thanks for coming, thanks for watching. Give us a like if you wanna support the channel and the video, and I'll see you next time. We got a few more things coming in. I will be doing another live build like Bugatti. That should be a lot of fun. Probably gonna take another 8 hours to do so. Maybe we'll do it live over one of the nights or something like that. But yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions, quite happily answer and help you. Was it worth it? I think so. I'm proud of this model now. It's not, it's something I want to display. I'll probably buy acrylic, you know, a little acrylic case for it to protect it. Before I wasn't fun, but now it looks, you know, 4 times better, if not more. So, and love the exhaust, you know, like it's having this exhaust done by myself. It makes it, you know, super exciting, because, you know, having something you like is obviously have more value to you. So see you next time.